Ladies and gentlemen on Facebook, Bigger Pockets, welcome to our amazing episode today. I'm so excited. This guy, I couldn't have asked for a better pillar to have on our show today. Mr. Brad Sugars is joining me on this episode, and thanks to Bigger Pockets for having me on. I just want to give you a little intro of Brad Sugars, and we can pick his brain, which will be amazing to get into that head of his. Brad Sugars is best-selling author, founder of ActionCOACH Global, which is in, I'm going to say 90 plus countries, because I'm sure they're growing, and thousands and thousands of business coaches that he has personally helped, coached, mentored. Brad's a personal friend of mine, also was a mentor and was a business partner of ours when we had Empire Industries. And I'm sure I'm barely scratching the surface of who Brad Sugars is and the treat that everybody has in store for them today. So, Brad, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to share with me and Bigger Pockets people today.
Hey, buddy, welcome. Good to be here. Coming to you live from the home office, as everybody does these days.
Yes, everyone has the home office scenario. So, you know, a lot of people are asking me a lot of questions about business. And so from being coached by you and Doug Winnie all over the years, I'm regurgitating what I have learned from you and Marshall Silver and all the other people. And I'm thinking, okay, why don't I just go to the source? Why should I be regurgitating what this guy does and knows? Okay. Can you just let everyone know, because people start jumping on. So as we want people to jump on, maybe just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and who you are and your background.
Well, buddy, I'm an entrepreneur first and foremost. So, my goal in life has always been to buy. Well, in the beginning, I used to buy broken companies and fix them. And then gradually what I started doing was buying a share of really good companies and explode them, sort of thing. From a business coach perspective, what am I now, 17 books in? We started the business coaching industry at ActionCOACH 27 years ago, or almost 27. This August will be 27 years ago. And now we do that in 82 countries, I believe. We just started all of the Baltic region and Russia. It's kind of cool. We coach business owners in Russia and China and Vietnam, three communist countries. So I like the idea that we're teaching entrepreneurialism across the world. But at this stage, my claim, someone asked me, what's your claim to fame? My claim to fame right now is that 8 of my 9 companies have pivoted, changed, adjusted, adapted, and are making profits and haven't had to fire anyone. Only one of our 9 companies, which is a restaurant in the Wynn Casino here in Las Vegas, that had to shut. Unfortunately, they shut the whole dang thing. So not much choice in that one. But, ultimately, my job is to help people get through this thing. My job is to help people understand this because most people have never ridden a downturn. This is my 4th downturn, and it's like, and the great thing about this downturn is we know it's a downturn from day one. Like there is no debate. In 2008, when you had the internet bubble, this and this, people debated for 6 months, a year. Is it actually a downturn? Oh, no, don't worry. It'll be fine. All of that stuff. In this case, we know that economically we're in fall. Okay, we had a great summer from 2012 to 2020 was the best economic ride we've had in a long time, and then we had a massive fall. And then we sit here today seeing the stock markets having their biggest weekly gain since 1980 something. And hey, presto, the whole world has changed. And we're sitting here with very exciting times. I think it's massively exciting right now what we can be up to and what we can be doing. But yeah, you got to have your head about you right now, and you got to get through survive mode too. And a lot of businesses are struggling with survive mode, let alone thrive mode. So that's the challenge. I got to get them through survival, and then get them into thrive.
And for the people watching on Bigger Pockets and YouTube, on Facebook, I think it's, first of all, let us know where you're from, where you're watching us from, and give us a thumbs up because Facebook likes that, and then that attracts more people so that more people can learn from Brad, because I want to learn from Brad, as I always do when I am around him. We got Joshua. He's from Afghanistan. I think you've been on my show before, Josh, so I appreciate you watching, and thanks for your service, protecting our country. Appreciate it. So let me ask you this, Brad. There's a lot of people that have never gone through one of these downturns, especially real estate. Now, for people that want to know, Brad does own quite a bit of real estate assets. He is not immune to this, and he owns a lot of businesses and has been involved in businesses. So I guess, first of all, I want to break a barrier that a lot of people have when they think of the word coach. They have this perception that you're a guy that has never gotten your hands dirty. You've never owned real estate. Like, who's this guy that is telling us we're investors? We don't do, we're a different breed. So I think it's important that you kind of touch on that, because you roll up your sleeve and get your hands dirty.
It's funny because I'm in the middle of a transaction selling an office complex right now. And it's like, oh man, what's going on with all this stuff? Is this transaction going to happen? What's going down? Where are we at? So the stress levels are the same for all of us. Am I going to get paid rent? Where's the rent going to come from? Who's not going to pay? We're going through all of those processes right now of talking with people. And, all of our commercial buildings, they're looking for rent relief. And it's like, nope.
Yeah.
No. There's no rent relief right here. You want rent relief? Go to the government. They're giving handouts. You get it from them, not me. And a couple of them have come back saying, well, we just won't be able to pay. And we're like, well, we'll just have to enforce then. Well, the government said you can't enforce. Yeah, no, they didn't actually say that. Go read the books. But listen, as an investor and sitting there right now, you got tenants in houses, you got tenants in buildings, and are they going to pay? Are they not going to pay? I'm not too concerned with that because I believe the vast majority will pay. I don't believe that, especially this month. Next month after, yeah, that's when I'm going to start sitting down going, okay, unless the Trumpster gets this thing back going again, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But I've looked through all of the companies that are renting buildings from me, and more than half of them are doing great. Right. We've actually put phone calls in to every single commercial tenant asking them what's going on. We've actually asked all of them, where are you guys at? What's happening? Because I'm a business coach as well. It's like, okay, if you guys need help, I'm going to find you some help so that you can keep paying my rent or paying my mortgage. That's one thing, Steve. I hate the term rent. No one ever pays me rent. They pay my mortgage. That's always been my statement, and I'll try and stick with it. So just so people are aware, I don't think of my tenants as paying rent. I think of them as paying my mortgage for me. It's my 100% way of thinking with people. And then we've now started making phone calls to all of our residential tenants, asking them, are they out of work or what's going on? We're getting ahead of the curve. So instead of waiting for them to call us, we're calling all of them and letting them know our expectation is still to be paid, and letting them know. And if they are in a challenging time, giving them reference to places they can go get help, not us.
Right. Now, and I think that for those of you watching, if you have questions, this is the time that you are getting access to someone that you would not normally get access to, we'll say. So if you have questions or comments, put them in the comment section, and we'll do our best to answer them as quickly as we can.
And Rahul asked a question there about what should I do if they cannot pay. Listen, firstly, don't send a letter. Get on the phone to them all. Okay, make it a human connection, because people find it harder to say no to paying your bills when they're face to face with you or on the phone with you type thing. If it's just through email, people can easily tell you, no, I'm not paying on an email. That's the easiest thing. People are tough on the internet.
Yeah, they can be the cyber bully and say, no, I'm not doing it. But when you're on the phone, and then to me, I think what a lot of people have a hard time understanding, Brad, is a lot of people that own a single family house, or maybe a couple, I don't think that a lot of them understand that they are running a business, and that business has policies, procedures, structure, communication.
It probably actually doesn't. That's the challenge.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of people don't put themselves in the category thinking, I have a business challenge. I have an issue. And
but I was the same as most of them when I first started in real estate. I didn't think of myself as anything. I didn't think of it as a business. I thought, oh, this is an investment. Yeah. And it is a business. It is something that we have to run that way. So I go back to the cycles though. And, interestingly enough, now my perception, Steve, might be a bit different, but at the end of a long summer run like that, most people should have a ton of equity, Right. Okay. Because literally that summer run, values were increasing, rents were increasing. Everyone should have had a ton of capital built in, unless they were leveraging on every dang thing every month and getting deeper and deeper into it. But if I get to the end of that period and I got a ton of equity, now is my time. I mean, dang, banks. Now, by the way, have we gone to every single banker and asked them for relief? Yes, of course we have.
Sure, absolutely.
Not missed a beat on that one.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, we're also applying for every government program that's available. We're applying for everything. There's no missing a beat on that sort of stuff.
And just for people watching, and it's in the comments here, I want to bring this up a couple times during this. Tell everybody what you are offering people for free to be able to help themselves. And this is something that you're doing to give back, because I think it's important.
So the week prior to everything being shut down, I just read, I watched China, and then once the disease started hitting other places, Italy and that sort of stuff, I said, right, this is going to crash. There's no two ways about it. So, I mean, A, we cashed up everything that we needed to cash up, and B, we jumped on. I started teaching. So I did webinars about here's what you need to do now. Then I did one 2 weeks ago about here's what you need to do now. So they're all on YouTube if anyone wants them, or on my Facebook. They're all there. But what I did then is I jumped in. I literally built a makeshift studio here. I have a full TV studio at my office, and I built a makeshift TV studio here at home. And I filmed a 10-day program for people on what you need to do to get through this thing for business. Okay. And as you said, everyone is a business owner at some level. So I think the team at Bigger Pockets have that in the comments section if people want to get it. It's the Survive and Thrive training program. It's free. I just want everyone to survive this thing, because the only way an economy survives is if all small business people survive. If the small business people don't survive, economies die. You can keep the big companies. And that's where, we look at it right now. Fully a third of businesses right now are in absolute boom. A third of businesses right now are doing the best numbers they've done. McDonald's is setting records every single day. They're just killing it out there. It's just amazing to watch some of these businesses. I talked to one of our clients at ActionCOACH, and they're a conveyor belt company. Their level of work now, they're recruiting. Because do you think all the conveyor belts they manage for FedEx and UPS and Amazon, those things are in massive need right now. So those guys are working their tail off recruiting. So you got to remember that there's about a third of businesses are in absolute boom. Now you got about a third in the middle that have had to learn how to pivot. So, had to learn how to go virtual, had to learn how to go a different way to keep their head above water and keep paying the bills and keep their staff on. And then you got a third of them, like, that little company you fly for, that they're basically shut down.
A lot of metal on the concrete right now.
Yeah. And the reality of that is they're going to get the biggest bailouts. Yep. So therefore, they're not actually going to lose anything. They're not going to make any profit, but they're not going to lose.
Yeah.
And same with the hotels and all of these big ones. Now, there's going to be a bunch in the middle that get caught, the smaller ones, the ones that can't apply for the PPP, or the ones that are, but that's what it's going to be. So hopefully they all can get on and learn from that stuff.
So Brad, if somebody has a small business right now and they're saying, okay, how do they look at a way that they could pivot? Like, what are some concepts to go, okay, I've got a business, I don't know how to pivot and make that to virtual world. Any advice you can give them?
Listen, I can just tell you some stories. I mean, last night I got one through from, the places my teachings has reached on this has been quite phenomenal. I get one from Cambodia last night. Their tuk-tuk trucks, they own those little tuk-tuks, the things you go around in, the big scooters. Well, they've turned them into tuk-tuk delivery trucks. And one of them, they've got the beer delivery, they got the water delivery, so they've turned their business and pivoted to be a delivery company. I know several companies that have done that, where they have trucks that they can use, and all of these companies that are booming, like Amazon, they need more deliveries. So Postmates, all of them, they need more deliveries. So then I take a look at, one of my companies is a food truck business. Now, spring is the best time of the year for us. We make 60% of our revenue in spring. All of the big festivals are on. We go out to these festivals and do 10, 20 grand in a weekend. Now, how many festivals are on? That'd be none. So, we've had to turn ourselves into a totally different business. And now we're doing family style meals. We've changed the model. We've kept all of our employees. We're making sales. But I think the biggest thing is you've got to learn how to do marketing through the virtual world. And that's the challenge for a lot of them. They had their customer base, you know.
Yeah.
And that's really the thing. I see this as a 90-day plan that people have got to get through. And we're about 3 weeks into the 90-day plan, maybe 4 weeks in, depending upon where you're at. But it's a 90-day thing we got to survive through. If you can get through the 90-day fall, and then we're going to have a little bit of economic winter. We just are. I mean, that's the thing. But interestingly enough, it's not going to have the usual tendencies. See, if you look at 2008, where the crash dried up all of the cash, right? Cash was dried up and there was no money available for anyone to do anything. That's not going to happen this time because the government's pumping in, so far, $2 trillion. They're going to do another $2 trillion. The way it looks, the people from Congress who are sending me the congressional notes, it looks like they're going to double down on that first $2 trillion. And then it looks like they're going to do another $2 trillion in infrastructure. So they're pumping $6 trillion into the economy. They're pumping our GDP into the economy.
Wow. Yeah. That's,
you know, it's like, let's throw our entire GDP back into the economy just to get it sparked again. Trump is not going to an election with a down economy. Trust me on that one. That guy's, come November, this thing's booming. You know?
So, you know, I've heard these people, I've all these V's and Nike swooshes and all these different acronyms that everyone's talking about. My thoughts are, and you're in Las Vegas, right? I would imagine tourism in Las Vegas will be one of the last ones to rebound, is my guess, because when this releases, it's not going to be floodgates open. It's going to be certain non-essential. And then down the road, once people have their finances, then they will vacation. So, you know, some of these people
maybe, you know, Vegas bounces back pretty strong after every one of these things. We're going to be one of the hardest hit. There's no two ways about that. We are going to be hard hit. But unlike when the real estate crash, see, if you take a look at the dot-com crash, okay, people weren't losing their homes in the dot-com crash. It was a different style of thing. The real estate crash, homes were being done. This is a different style crash.
Yeah.
And so each crash has a different way of coming out of it type thing. Real estate is not going to be as badly hit this time round. It's just not. Most people have either got a job still or government handout money or unemployment, because the unemployment benefits, you got to remember, a lot of people going on unemployment have just had a pay rise. Yeah. They've doubled unemployment. So these people are on unemployment. They got more money now than they had beforehand. So, you know, we've got to balance up ourselves. There's a lot of panickers in the market. This being my 4th time doing this thing, I'm thinking that our negative period is a lot shorter than it's been in most downturns that there have been. The survival mode will be 90 days, though. That's what I've told all of my people all around the world. 90 days, you got to survive, all right? Get through that and get through it in a position where you can come out strong. Set yourself up. Be ready for it. Be ready to go for it.
Now, how would people, and how, I'm not sure how familiar you are with all the government subsidies and the loans and the PPP. Mm-hmm. Can you give anybody, small business owners that maybe don't know how to get involved into that? How does that work currently as of today? Because I'm sure.
Well, the first thing you got to do is get on the SBA and apply for the EIDL. EIDL will give you the immediate $10,000. Okay, if you're a business person. Then the Paycheck Protection Program, you got to go to your bank. So you go to your bank and apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. They'll give you 2.5 times your average wage bill for the last 2 months, I believe. It might be 3. Last 2 months, I think it is. But there's 2 very simple programs. Then you've got to look at state programs, federal city programs. And then you got Facebook, Google, and even Salesforce.com coming out with up to, you know, 800 million here, this sort of thing. So there's all these programs to apply for. And whilst it seems a pain in the backside, it's definitely worth doing. But the 2 main programs, EIDL and PPP, SBA and your bank.
Now, I've got someone here asking, will there be another real estate correction due to this, in your opinion? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes.
How bad, or, you know, I guess depends how you look at it. It could be good, actually. I mean, to me.
Well, how good is the question?
How good is it? How good is the question?
For me, exactly. We're back in a buying opportunity. You know, we're back here with a buying opportunity again. And really, it depends on how the panic levels settle in. You know, the amount of, look, there's going to be people out of work and with lower incomes. And the demand for housing is always people out of work or people in work, people with higher incomes, people with lower incomes, that sort of thing. Certain markets are going to see surges. If you have an Amazon center in your market, you're going to see a much more hiring all of a sudden. Amazon just opened in Henderson here in Las Vegas, the other side of town. They literally just opened a brand new facility. Hey, that's going to go through. We got the Raiders Stadium still being constructed here. We got. So a lot of those things are not going to shift. It's going to be very much market centric. New York, you're going to have a correction like you ain't seen correction in a long time.
Yeah.
Now, here's the interesting thing about this, and it's awful, but it's going to be real. The number of people dying means the number of houses are going to be put on the market.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Okay. This is, yeah, I mean, I hate to sort of sit here and say it, but every crisis breeds opportunity, and you got to start looking at what the opportunity is. Okay. And so, you know, we got to be sitting here looking at it going, okay, now what I'm doing right now is talking with all of our banks about what they're going to lend us. So I'm sitting there with all the banks saying, okay, how much are you going to be giving? So as Matthew saying, he got the 10K payout last night from EDIL.
So Brad, like, and this is what I've been telling people, and I'm curious if you agree, like, to me, I remember 2008, and there was, after I learned, and it opened up my eyes that there was more wealth built after 2008, especially in real estate and buying assets, than any other time, because the people that had been educated and had the capital after their long summer of stockpiling money went in and started buying stuff on sale. And, you know, my perception of all this is whether you call it 9/11, 2008, H1N1, SARS, Hurricane Harvey, whatever it is, it's just another market correction that the ones that are not running their businesses and their real estate correctly will be corrected by the market. And they will now, that'll open up opportunity for other people to come in. But the people that take action and actually get stuff done, like, you know, taking your course, which amazingly is free, but doing these kinds of things are what is going to make the difference between the ones that actually succeed and the ones who don't.
Yep. You know, I listen, the first market correction I ever had back in 1993 or 4, I think it was. And I sat there and I was like most people. I panicked. I didn't know what the heck to do. I just said, okay, hunker down. Let's hold in place.
Right.
And it was the stupidest thing I could have ever done. You know, it crushed. Anyway, since then, every time I've made sure that I was cash ready for these opportunities. Now they come every 7 to 10 years. Now my biggest challenge with this one is I didn't know what was going to set it off. I thought that possibly a Democratic win or something like that could set off a market correction. Here we are, the market correction finds itself, you know, it finds a way to do it itself. And that's what it is. So we get this correction, and guess what? In another 7 to 10 years, we're going to have another market correction. Yeah. So, you know, when you're riding that economic summer and you sit there and people go, oh, wow, look, the market's so good and the Trump effect and all this sort of stuff and everything's booming and wow, isn't it great? As soon as I start hearing that, I start sitting back going, all right, time to cash up.
Yeah.
Start getting cash because something's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and what was it? I don't know. Who would have thought it was some idiot eating a bat in China that corrected the entire world's market, you know?
Yeah. Now, when you talk about raising money, a lot of people don't really understand how to do that. Like, you know, I mean, they're saying, I'm a real estate investor. I don't know how to go raise funds or capital, maybe at that level, or because I don't think investors or realtors, do they get the benefits of the government subsidy, or do you know that? I'm not sure if they get that benefit or not.
Well, it depends on if you're running it as a corporate entity or not. If you're running a corporate entity, you get the 10 grand. Everyone gets that basically. Well, that's my understanding of it. If you're running a corporation, you apply for EDIL, you get the 10 grand straight away. Each individual who's under a certain amount of revenue and gets the $1,200 plus, I think it's $500 a kid. And that's just automatically sent out to us all that have done our tax returns the last 2 years. So, you know, those sorts of things are there. When it comes to this correction, it's not going to be 08. It's going to be mild, except in certain markets. Certain markets are going to have a pretty heavy. If you've got an area that is like Las Vegas, you know, we literally have 250,000 people who got put out of work in one day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
250,000. I mean, that's just the total level. But now, that being said, they're all part-time workers mostly, or on sort of thing. So each of them usually has, and I know a lot of people like this here in Vegas, has 2 or 3 jobs. So this town's going to be hit, and it's going to be hit hard, and there's going to be rents not being paid. So we got to take a look at that.
Yeah. Now, what would you say as far as you were saying a 90-day cycle? You were saying 90 days. Like, can you explain your perception of what is going to happen during that 90 days, and then what happens on the 91st day to day 120 type thing?
Yeah. So what we're planning on in all of our businesses and in the real estate is we're planning on what it looks like to come out of this thing. And I believe, similar to you, I believe it's a phased coming out of this thing. I don't believe it's a turn on everything in one day. It's phased, and people start moving forward, and, you know, businesses start going back to normal, and things start moving. I don't think there'll be a day. And it's like any market correction or any market move. The market has shifted before you recognize it's shifted. Okay. And if you wait till the market shifts, you're behind the curve. Right. So here's what we are planning for. What we are planning for is basically Q2 to be a survive period, Q3 to be a let's get going, and Q4 to be back on thrive mode. You know, that's what we're planning for. Now, if it pans out that way, fantastic. If it doesn't, we're still able to survive because we planned that right at the beginning of day one. So again, I have to be honest, my cleaning company, my commercial cleaning company, it's like this. It's on boom. Yeah. Like we've lost gyms and that sort of stuff as cleaning, but the big commercial contracts we're picking up because we can go in and do full on disinfectant level cleaning. Our guys go in massive suits. It's like they're in a hazmat team. They go in and clean these places. And these places, like, we're talking massive office buildings where they want it done every single night. It's like, we're not risking this every single night you're in here. They have air conditioners. Some of these massive office buildings where they're still running the business and doing it. They've literally got the air conditioner people in there every week doing a full clean of the air conditioning systems on weekends. So
let me ask you this, Brad. Based on everything that you're seeing, do you, like, for, let's just say, your businesses or people that have businesses, is this a quick change and back to, everybody goes back to center, right? Everyone changes back, or is it?
There's no, everyone that says, I'd like it to go back to normal, then there is a new normal now. There's a very new normal. The normal has shifted. It won't be the same ever again. The level of virtual work going forward will be massive. I'm sitting looking at it from a real estate perspective thinking, oh my God, office buildings are going to be, we're going to have companies that just say, listen, stay virtual. It worked perfectly. We don't need you to come back in now. We can reduce our office footprint by half.
Good point.
You know, there's going to be a new normal when it comes to this sort of thing. So I think we've got to start looking at that. The level of Zoom meetings is going to continue. We're not going to, they're going to be, I'm not going in the office. Why do I need to go in the office? I can stay at home in my shorts and do this thing. Yeah. You know, so we're going to see a lot more of that. Now, when it comes to restaurants and that sort of stuff, I think that they're going to, that's where we're going to see the most of when the world has gone back to normal, people going to restaurants. And I see big things on Facebook. Everyone's saying, what's the first restaurant you're going to when this opens up again? You know, where are you going back to? Yeah, hopefully it's one of mine. That's exactly right. So, but simple things of the way the world has shifted. And I think every business or every industry, people are going to have to look at it. So with real estate, I honestly think people are going to be changing the type of home they want.
Really?
Well, you think
more of like an office, have an office in the house, or what do you mean?
I think that's a definite. Because you think about how people have changed during quarantine. I think people are going to want bigger places. They're going to want more room. You know, people are probably going to want to move out of the city to more rural, suburban-y type areas. You know, all of the deep metro areas like New York. I mean, that My wife said on day one, she used to live in New York. She said, dang, if this thing hits New York, they're gone. They live on top of each other. The air conditioning in those high-rise buildings, those old high-rise buildings, the air is fully ducted from one room to the next. It's like that just blows in from one room to the next. It's like sitting on an airplane living in those buildings. So
yeah, they've got to be. I mean, I think it was Hong Kong. They said they could never have, statistically speaking, you could never have that everybody out of their places on the streets at one time, or vice versa, because there's that many people in Hong Kong. I'm sure there's many places like that. But
and you think about the air conditioning rule changes are going to come from this. Ventilation rules that are going to change. All of these things are going to be different over the next period of XYZ. So there's going to be a lot of shift. And I'm looking at this saying, okay, where you go?
Yeah, where do you, like, if for Brad Sugars, where do you see the opportunity most? Residential, commercial, business? I mean, probably all of the above, I would imagine. But what would you focus on, and what would you say people listening should focus on?
I'm biased because I have a particular niche that I love, and that is single family homes that are on a large lot in an area that's now capable of having apartment buildings. I like buying anything that I can renovate, anything that I can do developments on, because guess what building's going to look like in the next little while? You got to start sitting there thinking, okay, how many people are going to be buying and building a new home in the next little while? So I'm going to have a bunch of plumbers, a bunch of contractors, so I'm going to get cheaper. Like, my house here, Steve, I built this house in 2010. I started building in 2010, and everyone's like, you're insane. You're stupid. Well, the guy that dug my basement, the first quote was 380 grand. The next quote was 340. And the guy I got to do it was 120. Why? Because he knew what the market looked like, and he just wanted to keep his people in business. So we're going to see some good opportunity. So for me personally, I'm going to look to be developing or buying anything I can develop right now, because that's what I'm going to be making the most money on. Knock down an old house and put up a 12-pack, 6-pack, 8-pack of apartments or condos, and life is good.
I would imagine people, are going to stay and maybe rehab their houses too, and maybe add extensions to their properties, and you're going to see more of that, I would imagine, as well, as opposed to moving. If they can't afford it.
We need to build a room just for the kids that we can lock them away in for their schooling.
Because I'm tired of that. Yeah.
And we need to build a room just for us. That's like it's crazy. And people keep asking me, how you doing in quarantine? And I'm not saying this to be crazy or anything, but we have a very large house, but then again, we have 5 kids.
I was going to say,
and I have 5 bars and a wine cellar. So people are like, how you doing with quarantine? I'm like, still not through the first bar yet, so we're going okay,
Doing okay. So I've got someone here asking, JD from YouTube says, let's say you've saved $100,000 waiting for things to crash. How do we maximize it during the crash?
The reality is get on phone with your bank and see how they'll leverage you up right now. See how much they'll actually allow you to go buy and what they'll allow you to go buy. Personally, I love trading. See, I'm an investor in 3 things: business, real estate, and shares. And I bought McDonald's at $1.65 the other day. I bought William Hill at $3.52. Blue Steel likes William Hill, but Blue Steel likes cash at the end of the day today, just so you're all aware. The market's had a massive upsurge. I believe there'll be some bad news in the next 3 to 5 days that'll make the market correct again, go down. This is stock market I'm talking. And so I'm personally playing the stock market right now, looking at the companies that have been massively devalued for no reason other than there's a shutdown, and they will bounce and they will do it. So that's a lot of what I'm doing right now. But if it's pure real estate, you got to know there's some people out there wanting cash right now. They're willing to sell. Commercial real estate is where I'd be looking right now, because there's businesses that if you find a business that owns its own building and it'll do a lease back, that's what I'd be hunting for right now. Lease backs will be strong. You'll be able to buy a lot cheaper because there's going to be companies that they're going to sell the building to fund themselves surviving this thing.
Right. Yeah.
So you go knock on doors. Just go knock on business doors if there's anyone there, or go start calling them up.
Yeah, completely agree. I know a good friend of mine was telling me that he had a deal that he was going to purchase a commercial building, And he said, 3 weeks ago, we would have done the deal because of the virus and everything. He said, I'm going to pass. Owner came back and said, I'll owner finance it to you if you do the deal at a discounted price. And so all of a sudden now the deals are starting to come where you can negotiate. And I've got someone here, Jay Romano, says, help me walk through a seller finance deal. How do you think about them? What resources do you use, do's and don'ts and pitfalls? So you and I, you introduced me to John Burley, who's kind of the king of the owner finance, seller finance world. What are your thoughts on doing? I'm assuming Jay is talking about being the owner finance, or I'm guessing is what he's talking about. Yeah,
listen, personally, I don't do them. Personally, I don't do them because I don't have to anymore. Right. It's one of the great things about money is that when you need the money, most of the banks won't lend it to you. When you don't need it, they fight over lending it to you. It's like, anyway, that being said, I think seller finance deals are great. Now, the reason those seller finance deals end up making you a lot of money is that if you finance it to someone and 6 years in, they fall over. See, here's what's going to happen right now. And you mentioned John Burley. Well, the Burley style deals, you imagine how many people have you got? Let's say you got 50 people on one of those seller finance deals. You're getting 40 of them fall over in the next 12 months, or 20 or 30 of them fall over in the next 12 months. They're not going to be able to make their payment. You take back that house. Yeah. Essentially you're a bank. And that's what, as much as banks say they don't want people to fall over on their mortgage, banks love people falling over on their mortgage. That's their business model. Yeah. And that's just what it is. So if I was taking a seller finance deal, what I usually do in taking, or what I used to do in taking a seller finance deal, is make sure I have a clause in there where I can refinance it, and just with no penalties to refinance and pay them out at some point. And I try and get a discount for paying them out, because at some point the bank will lend me and I'll go back and get a bank loan rather than their loan. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, and if anybody has any business questions for Brad, please put them in the comments, and I'm sure Jay just put in there saying it's me buying a deal. It's a property adjacent. Yeah, look, knocking on doors right now. I mean, you can't knock on doors, obviously, but you can most definitely make phone calls to people and try and get them. Yeah. So, Brad, I'm gonna twist this back a little bit to the business side, because you are giving, and they've pinned it. Bigger Pockets has pinned it to the top. Your course. Again, just let everyone know, for people that have jumped on, about the course. And the second question I have: what can businesses do? Let's say we get through this cycle, which we will. It's going to, like you said, we're going to get to summer again eventually. What do people do to prepare not to be in a bad position when it does get to winter? But tell everyone what you've done with the course first. So yeah, firstly, when this crash happened, I sat down and said, because my company, ActionCOACH, we have 180,000 business owners who rely on us for advice every single week that we coach somewhere in the world. And so I had to get them all the knowledge base of what they needed. They're our clients. And then once I filmed it, I said, you know what, I'm just going to give this away to any business owner that needs it, because we need to save an economy. So it's a 10-day, half an hour a day education program to take you through what you do to survive an economic crisis, and then how you come out of it strong, because survival is one thing, but coming out of it strong is the second thing. Right. And so that's where every time I look at what we do to come through this thing, and again, we're planning for a 90-day survival period, not like 2008, where you had to plan for a 2-year survival period or a 1-year survival period, depending upon the industry. We're going into this thing fully knowing that we're going to get there and we're going to get through it. Now, the reason I know we're going to get through it is, everyone survives crashes and has survived crashes forever. So that's part and parcel of it. Now, that being said, you've got a plan to come through this strong. You've got to change your marketing, change your sales approach, change even the product or service, change your pricing model. Because, you can't go into this. Like my commercial cleaning business, our pricing model, people are like, oh, you got a discount at this time. Absolutely not. We've increased our prices by 30%, and they're fighting to get us because they can't get the quality of cleaning that we can give. We've increased our prices. Other businesses, like ActionCOACH, we've taken to a lot of people that could afford our one-on-one programs can now only afford our group programs. So we've moved them across into that. We've adjusted with them. You've got to adjust that. Your marketing message has to shift. Our marketing message prior to this is, do you want to grow your business? Are you looking to build wealth in your company? Are you looking to do that? Now it's, we're here to help. How can we help you save your business? How can we help you keep your customer base on board? Your marketing message has to shift. It has to pivot, because if it doesn't, you'll be seen as totally insensitive to the market conditions. And this isn't just a financial crisis. If you're insensitive now, and we're talking a human crisis, because that's what this is. This is a human crisis. If you're insensitive during a human crisis, your business is going to get beat up. And I'm seeing it all the time. I'm seeing, the particular guru out there who fired 80% or 80 people in his company, and he's getting beat up everywhere on the marketplace. Taking photos of himself with his jet and then firing 80 people with no severance packages. Dang, dude, you got to be sensitive in this time and in this way of doing it. Your sales strategies have to shift. You can't go in with a try and hard sell. You have to go in with a compassionate, empathetic sell style. You have to go in with all of these things these days. And so that's where I put together the course to teach people all this stuff. And if we don't learn these things right now, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. And again, if you're offering this for free. So, I mean, this is something that you were building up to sell and do as a
well, this is something I filmed specifically for this crisis.
Oh, okay.
Because all of our paying clients around the world needed the information to get through it. So I had to make sure they got it. And then I just said to my team, let's just give this to everybody that needs it. Because if we don't save every business out there that we can, then the economy will take a lot longer to get through this thing. So that's my goal. I'm on courses with everybody all day, every day, trying to teach. I got the British government next. They've got me on a thing with all small businesses in the UK when I finish with you here today, because I'm sitting there just going, I got to help them.
Yeah. Now, why do you say 90 days? Like, I think of it as the cars have just locked their brakes because everything stopped. And then once it starts again, that's why it will not be a 2-year run. Is that correct, or is that?
Well, it's 90 days of survival. Okay, it's 90 days of survival. Then we start getting back to somewhat of normalcy. Now, how long that period of the winter? Because I use the thing summer, fall, winter, spring type thing.
Yep.
How long winter lasts really depends on the government bailout. To be honest.
If the government, how long it lasts, right? I mean, how long this continues, right? Or not irrelevant?
Well, if you look at China and Italy and France and Spain, all those who've been before us, and unfortunately, New York, New Jersey is the same as Italy and Spain and France. Like the rest of the United States is nothing like those other markets. The rest of the United States was put in quarantine well before what happened in New York. Unfortunately, in New York, the governor and the mayor had a fight and ended up costing, anyway, we won't go into that one. But why I say 90 days is that it's just, I guess for me, it's a survive 90 days. And once I've done that, then I can be looking to come out of this thing stronger. I personally believe most companies, and I've got so many of our clients that are making more money now because of their change, because of their pivot, than they were before they went into this thing. They're going to come out of this not only picking up the old business that they had, but they're going to come out of this doing amazingly well.
So the point here, and I think what you're trying to tell everybody is that if you pivot,
Jason asked, how much do I have to pay for this 10-day course? You have to give me your name and email. It's free. That's all you have to do. I don't want to make money off of this thing this way. I make money off this thing in other ways.
Yeah, and Jay said he saw you when you did the Grant Cardone interview here. I guess you ran into him or he met you.
There you go. A lot of people saw me on Cardone's interview. There you go.
Yeah, they did. I think actually you mentioned me on that. I mentioned me and Pete on that interview actually at that point. So basically, like I said, I don't want to take much more of your time. I appreciate if anybody has any more questions, please put them in. We're going to kind of wrap up. Brad, he's got a big UK business meeting apparently that I'm glad we got to slide into this slot. I appreciate your time, Brad.
Steve. Sorry. Question. Yeah.
No, it's just like what kind of parting advice would you give? I know you've given a ton of advice, and I want people to walk away with something that they take out a pen and paper and they write down. I need to do this, this, and this to survive 90 days. Like what would you say?
Okay. First thing, I'm going to give people an attitude adjustment just a little bit, because this is the biggest opportunity you've seen in 10 years. So the biggest change of wealth, the biggest exchange of wealth will happen now. So you need to have a mindset of there is massive opportunity in front of me right now. And if I have that mindset, I will find them. I will find that stuff. This is not a hunker down in place. This is very much a find the opportunity time. Next thing, if we're looking for specific things to do, be on the front foot. Call all your tenants, call your banks, call everybody, be on the front foot asking the questions. Don't wait for it to come and hit you. Get out in front of it and get to know what you're doing. You've got to make sure that that is the case. Question there, do I see interest rates going and when? Zero. Zero is where interest rates are.
Yeah.
Do I see them going negative? There is a chance that they will go negative. There is a chance we will Japan up on this thing. But no, zero is what the Fed's at. So I think the Fed acted too soon. Actually, the zero move now would have been a great move. When they went to zero, they could have just done a quarter point and then done another quarter later. But anyway, they did what they did. So that's a fantastic thing. But you got to be on that. And the third thing is sit down and start planning. What am I going to do to come out of this thing stronger? Well, how am I going to get out? And just for everybody, if anyone wants it, Steve, anyone has a business and wants it, call all of my coaches worldwide right now, allocating 5 hours a week to pro bono business coaching. Wow. So if anyone needs a coach, jump on ActionCOACH.com and just go to ActionCOACH.com and hey presto, there's a button on there to get a free session with a coach right now. We're in 80 countries around the world, so you'll find us.
That's awesome. And for myself, being a coach of Action Coach for 7 years, and with your guidance and help, taking our business and actually exiting and selling, I would say that is amazing that you're doing that, and very admirable for you and the coaches, I would say, because that is gold information. And I can't stress enough how important it is to shore up your baseline and do this mental gymnastics of getting your priorities straight. And the biggest thing I got out of this, Brad, from hearing you is over communicate with everybody, whether it's trying to get sellers knocking on doors, proverbially, with your residents, with your lenders. I mean, you've got to open up the floodgates of communication. Don't hoard anything, and make sure you're committed to the success of your business. Because I think a lot of people, even though they have their own business, I think a lot of people don't think of the fact that they've got a trailing behind them of employees, families, residents, all of these things that they are responsible for when you own that business.
Well, now is the time to be seen as a leader, Steve. It's not the time to lead from a hidden place. Now is the time that if you're going to lead, you need to be seen. I'm doing a video every day to all of my teams in all of my companies around the world. Every day I'm talking with them. All my CEOs, where I used to meet with my CEOs of my companies once a month, now it's once a week, all of them on a group session. I'm doing videos to our customer base, all my social media. I do a 5-minute video, and you probably know that I do drive time. Usually it's when I get in my car every day. My team has a big rig in my car, and I just chat to the phone as if I'm chatting to a friend sitting in the car next to me for 5 minutes. Well, now I do them in my driveway because, it's like driveway time. But you sit down and you start thinking, if you want to lead now, you need to be seen to be leading. You can't hide in the background. You got to step it up. Your people need to be, and this is how you know you're leading well right now. You're getting thank yous. If your people are saying, boss, thank you so much. I feel confident. I know you've got us. I know you've got where we're going. I know that you're with us. Thank you so much for everything you're doing for us. If you're getting that communication, then your leadership is right now. If you're not getting that communication, your leadership strategy is out. Watch the course. I'll teach you how to do that in there, because it's so important to get your communications right now. I sit there and I look, and I've watched a few. I'm watching TV ads at night now just to see the ads and see which companies I want to buy shares of because they've changed, and which companies are too stupid to be true, and they've kept running the same ads that they had on a month ago. Like there's a jewelry company running massive ads for Rolexes last night on TV. It's like, you're out, you're done.
Yeah.
Couldn't you have changed your ad and said, hey, we know in times of crisis people are struggling, but there's still moments to celebrate. And we know you probably still need to buy that ring or buy that watch. And we're here to help in any way we can. Please visit our online store or call one of our jewelers today. You see how that just changes the whole marketing message, and people go, wow, that's a great company.
Well, Brad, I remember, and again, I want to wrap this up because I want to respect your time. I'll never forget though. I remember, being in one of your seminars, I think in Las Vegas, one of the courses that you teach. And I remember you saying there's such a difference between management and leadership. And most people are managers thinking they're leaders. And in times of, and I remember this clear as day that you were saying, in times of crisis, you need to be a leader. And, there's a place for everybody, but the leader is who you need to be. Can you just kind of explain that to people, the difference? And then I promise we'll let you go.
Sure. How long have we got? Because that'll take a few minutes.
I've got 10 minutes, but it's up to you as much as you can give me.
Sure. Here's the way it works. Management is about competent, productive people, competency and productivity. So when we go virtual, there's a massive need for management in the beginning because you're going to manage the process. And that's where, in a virtual world, and I teach this on the course of how to manage people in a virtual world, because it's so different when you are that. And so your day-to-day rituals change, your huddles, your meetings, how people report in, all of these things have to shift. But management being competency and productivity is about increasing the capabilities of the human, about working with them. And when we go on virtual, there's totally different strategies for that. Now, flip it over for a second, and we go to leadership. Leadership is about passionate, focused people. Now, if you don't give your people something to focus on in a crisis, if you don't give them something positive to look at, if you don't give them somewhere to go, they look at the negative. They watch their Facebook feed. They listen to all the idiots out there. It's crazy. So we've got to make sure we give them something to focus on and something to be passionate about. There has to be emotion. I'm with my people. I'm talking to them. We got to save every business out there. We got to get through every business. And the level of passion of my people has come through stronger than ever before. So I'm seeing that. And that's where a real leader pulls the passion out of their people, keeps them focused on what they need to be focused on. And that's a big part of it. I think that we must do that in this time frame. And if everyone does the free course, they'll get it, they'll understand it. And I really hope that we can save a bunch more people because of this and what we're doing out there.
Yeah, that's great. I can feel the passion, and knowing you personally as a friend, I know how you are and how you feel about this, but just anybody watching can feel the passion that you're trying to help people. And I appreciate you taking the time today to do this.
It's like my wife says to me, honey, you got to shave. And I said, listen, I am back to back. I do not have 1 minute of the day to
Yeah, you're up at 5:30 this morning, I saw, right? 5:30.
I was, yeah. I had a webinar to the East Coast of the US, and that's so it was 8:30 for them, 5:30 my time, at 5 o'clock for prep. And it was like, dang. Anyway, that's what you do. That's, me, Steve. I only ever work Tuesdays and Thursdays in a regular world. Yeah. Now I'm just working whatever I need to get this stuff done, to educate and to help people. Because brands and ideas. I want you to go back to, when was Uber built? When was Airbnb built? From the crash of 2008. Yeah. The biggest and best companies of the next boom are going to be built right now.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Makes
sense.
Right
now. All the biggest and best ideas are coming out right now. Because when do the best ideas actually get enacted upon? Because I know this, my team said it the other day. There's been about 10 ideas that I've had over the last 2 years of stupid ideas. And guess what? We're doing all of them now.
Not so stupid now. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's right. In a crisis, all the stupidest of ideas actually get done. So,
that makes sense. Well, Brad, thank you so much. And again, for those of you that want his course, he's offering it for free. He built it. Again, this is not something you're going to get ever. So it's great. I signed up for it, and I've been coached by this gentleman for 7 years. And the knowledge and expertise of this guy. If you're not following him, Brad, what are your Instagram and all that stuff so that people can find you? Because
it's all Bradley Sugars. I'm on everything. I'm on LinkedIn, Face, Insta, Twitter, YouTube, my blog on bradsugars.com. I'm not on Pinterest though. I'm not on Pinterest or TikTok. So there you go. I'm not dancing and singing or doing crafty stuff. So all the business ones, LinkedIn, Facebook, you'll find me on all of those. Just Bradley Sugars. All right, bradsugars.com.
BradSugars.com. Well, Brad, again, thank you so much. Bigger Pockets, thank you for giving us the opportunity and the platform. For everyone watching, hopefully you got something out of this. I know I did, and every time I talk to this guy, I get something. So I appreciate your time, Brad, and stay well. Tell Lauren, the family, I said hi, and please, keep doing what you're doing, because you are helping so many people. It's unbelievable, and it should be very well commended of what you're doing, and you should be proud of yourself.
We just hope we get them all, buddy. We hope we get them all. So one other thing, if I can ask everyone who signs up for the course, share it with at least a dozen people. Get other business owners help too. Don't just take it for yourself. Share it with everybody.
Yeah, it's free. So I don't know why you wouldn't do that. I don't know. If you charged $5,000, you'd probably, people would value it more. You give it for free, they think it's not worth it. But let me tell you, it is for sure, without a doubt. So
thank you to Bigger Pockets. Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate you guys having me.
Okay. Thank you. Bigger Pockets, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.